Hey everyone, Ryan Kennedy here. Todd Fitzgerald coming to you live from Lincoln, Nebraska. Lincoln, Nebraska, here we are, and it is 11 o'clock at night, and this is a story that has to be told. Here's the backstory to the story you're about to hear.
Yes, sir.
I've known Todd for a little under a year.
Close to a year.
Close to a year, and we have become friends, and we were up last night, we were hanging out late, and we were sharing stories, and he shared some pieces of his story that I certainly didn't know about. And here's the deal, he wrote a letter to himself 2 years ago, December 26, 2015, and he rips out this letter and begins reading it last night, and it was like, oh my goodness, this story needs to get out there. It's a story of hope, and I think y'all are going to enjoy this.
Well, and I appreciate having the opportunity and building my relationship that I built with Ryan has been amazing, and to be able to be vulnerable enough to feel that I can share this story, it was a story that I needed to be told. And so I'll read this letter, and I wrote this letter 2 years ago, December 26, 2015, after my life had kind of taken a pretty drastic turn. I had lost all the things that mattered most to me, number one being my family, and I had lost all hopes, all dreams, and all aspirations of what my life was supposed to be, and I was probably at the darkest point of my life that I think I'd ever been. But this letter, by the grace of God, I was able to write, and I made a promise to myself that 2 years later, I would find this letter and I would read it. And so I'm honored that I get to share this with you tonight. Todd, if you're reading this letter, it's by the grace of God you were given a second chance at life. You ultimately made a life-changing decision to stop trying to be fake and live an unauthentic life and become the father and man that God created you to be. You decided to face your demons, fear, addiction, selflessness, struggle, and pain, and no longer allow that person to define you. Sitting here in the quiet, looking out into the darkness as the moon reflects on the snow and frozen pond, you realize that the life that you were living wasn't the life that God had intended for you. You were masking the hurt, ugliness, and pain behind trying to be everything for everyone else. The awards, the recognition, the praise, acknowledgement, validation only fed an empty, broken, and hollow soul trying to portray something that you weren't. The amount of embarrassment, hurt, pain, and brokenness that you caused your family, but worse, not being the man for Becky and the father for Christian and Rylan, is unacceptable. You've had so much pain, ugliness for a very long time. Now it's time to let go and become the man, father, and leader that you were designed to be. You will no longer allow brokenness into your life and remove toxic friendships, relationships, and people not in your life plan out. God will put the people in your life who are supposed to be there and will remove the people who aren't. You've been given a second chance to transform your life and live the life of success and abundance. By deciding to embrace the suck and change who you are will take time to heal. The wounds, the hurt, and the pain that you cause will be hard, but you'll find your strength through God and the army of warriors He surrounds you with. He will give you discernment to see through people's fake facades to become more stronger and self-aware than you have ever been. Many will mock you, turn their backs against you, gossip, talk shit about you, appear to care, but in fact, they're unauthentic and unreal. It's okay. You'll have days, months, and years where you may be alone, but it's by the grace of God you will never travel this journey alone. People will take advantage of your generosity and goodness. That's okay, as God will give you His goodness and generosity. You don't have to keep running. Seize the day, step into the moment, and step into your greatness, and live a life of purpose and happiness. Fear of failure, disappointment, and pain will no longer define you. Yes, you fucked up, and you can't change that. But what you can be is an agent of hope and change. Rediscover your hopes, your dreams, aspirations, and be a visionary of what's possible, not only in your life, but the lives of others. Either you can stay stuck in your life or break through and rebuild your brand bigger and badder than before. History only repeats itself if you're dumb enough to let it. I love being out here because now I'm able to look and see who I am supposed to be. Life has endless possibilities for you, and to become the person you are destined to be, learn from your past, leave blame behind, embrace that from this day on you will have a new life, and only you can execute the game plan that God has for you. I believe in you, and I know you'll look back when you read this and realize that God's plan for you is bigger than you've ever imagined, and it's time to stop running and start being something that you are supposed to be, and stop trying to be something that you are not. You are victorious, and you've been given another chance at life. I believe and I love you, and I know that you're going to make it. Love you, man. Todd Stephen Fitzgerald, December 26, 2015.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
And can you say a little bit, you were at a cabin.
You
were at the end of your rope.
I was at the end of my rope.
By yourself, isolated, alone.
I was isolated, I was alone, and I was in a place where I really felt that I did not have any hope. I felt that I was at the end of where my life was supposed to be, and I had given up. And I sat there in a cabin all by myself, trying to figure out what would be the easiest way for me to go. Something, and I know what it was the hand of God reached down and pulled me out and told me that there was something more for me. And I sat there and I sobbed and I cried, and I sobbed and I cried and I cried and I cried and I cried, and I did not know what. I did not know where I was going. I didn't know what I was doing, but I just knew that there was something better. There was something more. And it was by the grace of God that on December 27th, 2015, I attended a church service, and I sat in the back of the church, and that's kind of where you want to go, where you don't want to be seen. You don't want anybody to know that you're there. I felt really insignificant, so that's where I found myself.
Some of y'all listening know exactly what he's talking
We've
about.
all been
Back
there.
rowers.
We've all been in the back row, but at least you're in the building. And I was in the building, and I was in that building for a reason. There was a purpose.
Yeah.
If I would have gone through with what I was planning on going through that night, I would not have heard that message. I would not have had the blessing in having you and your beautiful wife, Tammy, your family placed in my life. I would not be sitting here with the confidence to tell this story. And this was a story that needed to be told.
Yeah.
And I've lived in fear for such a long period of my time, of my life, hiding from this story. And so the freedom to be able to share, to finally lift that burden, and to look back at where I was. But the most promising thing is to be able to know where I'm going and the people that I'm going with.
Yeah, and you're doing it. You're doing it.
Yes, sir.
So if you are feeling hopeless right now, and there's lots of people, I know it, you're hearing this and you're at that story of hopelessness. You're at that point where it's like, why bother? Why keep going? Reach out to this dude. I know him, I trust him, you'd love to talk to him.
I'd love to.
How do people connect with you?
You can reach me via email. You can find me at tfitzgerald@womenoffaith.com. You can find me on Facebook, Todd Fitzgerald. You're never alone. Don't ever feel that you're alone, because there are people that are out there that have a story. There are people that are out there that are there for you. There are people that are out there that love you, that care about you, and want to be that support for you. Don't be too proud to ask for help.
Yeah.
Because you are never alone.
Never know. My boy Todd.
Love you.
Lincoln, Nebraska. Love you too, brother. We're out.